Layoffs are coming to two Case New Holland plants.
Employees at this Fargo plant, which builds tractors and loaders for agricultural and construction industries, were notified earlier this week that nearly 200 hourly workers will be laid off.
Industrial planning a big round of layoffs at its tractor plant in the next few weeks.
Case IH stood for strength and resilience, a shining beacon of American farming pride. Yet only days ago, fresh leaks revealed boardroom conversations hinting at an orchestrated shift away from Midwest soil. Communities across the plains heard these whispers on the morning news and felt their collective hearts stop beating. A factory gate in Indiana locked overnight, and thousands of livelihoods vanished like the flick of a switch. Some call it a betrayal, others claim it was destiny in the face of global pressures. Either way, the past 72 hours have rattled rural towns, left workers stunned, and sparked new lawsuits claiming premeditated deceit. All this unfolds amid a swirling debate over what global optimization truly means, and who pays the final price. As the shock reverberates from Wisconsin to Ohio, farmers brace themselves. Stores on Main Street worry they're next, and local families wonder if they can outlast another crisis. Brace yourself, because Case IH's dramatic exit is more than a shuttering of factories. It's a warning shot for every corner of rural America. Case IH's abrupt move blindsided everyone. One morning, these massive, red-branded factories, once humming with clamor and pride, went cold. Thousands of jobs vanished in less than 24 hours.
It makes precision spraying equipment. The cuts follow CNH announcing it would lay off more than 200 workers in Racine earlier this year.
A jarring shift that left entire towns unsure whether to brace for a complete shutdown or cling to corporate statements insisting the closures were partial at best. As rumors of plummeting orders swirled, new developments piled on. Earlier this week, a leaked memo revealed top executives had been discussing overseas expansion plans for at least 3 years, even as they promised job security stateside. The stakes? Monumental. Case IH wasn't just manufacturing farm machinery. Its parts maintained the rhythm of spring planting and fall harvest. When equipment breaks in the field, farmers have only a narrow window to salvage their entire season. Delays of even a week can cost tens of thousands of dollars in ruined crops. Now, supply lines are severed, vital parts stuck in transit, and entire harvest cycles in jeopardy. County budgets are also on the verge of collapse, as Case IH's tax contributions once kept schools, fire departments, and public works afloat. Communities stand at a razor's edge between outrage and resignation.
It's actually a good day for making noise. Making noise and being seen.
Was Case IH forced by international competition, or did it willingly sacrifice American workers to chase higher profits abroad? Early reports suggest labor costs weren't the sole catalyst. Brazil greeted Case IH expansion with incentives and lax labor restrictions, while India promised reduced tariffs on high-volume machinery. This collision of corporate ambition and community dependence created a perfect storm. And with lawsuits already stacking up, another question emerges. Can any legal ruling bring back the missing jobs, or is this crisis beyond the reach of judges and juries? First in the spotlight is Case IH's leadership. Official statements insist they never announced a total closure of U.S. operations. Yet plant managers recount hurried phone calls that indicated otherwise. Many inside the company claim Case IH's overseas strategy was finalized years ago, but details never made it to factory floors. Frustration seethes under the surface, especially after newly surfaced documents hint that top brass prioritized Brazil's welcoming business climate over Midwest loyalty. Rising operational costs in the United States, they argue, demanded a global restructuring for corporate survival. Whether that's corporate spin or harsh economic truth remains hotly debated. Meanwhile, the workforce, and by extension, entire communities, feels the blow. In towns like Rhine, Wisconsin, employees who'd worked the assembly lines for generations are now left with shuttered doors, meager severance checks, and no clear path forward. A local tradesman confided that his grandfathers and uncles had spent lifetimes at Case IH. They built tractors that fed this entire county. Now I'm told to apply overseas if I want the kind of work my family always did. The heartbreak isn't just about losing a paycheck, It's about losing part of a legacy. Next come the farmers. From the Dakotas to Ohio, they depend on Case IH equipment to till fields and harvest crops on a strict timetable. Spare parts that once arrived within days are now mired in customs backlogs that can stretch on for 6 weeks or more. Recent data points to a threefold increase in urgent service calls, with dealers reporting shelves empty of critical components. Some farmers are innovating out of desperation, resorting to 3D printing or jury-rigging solutions. Others, grasping for any lifeline, are switching brands entirely, lured by John Deere's red to green discount, introduced mere weeks after news of Case IH's breakdown surfaced. Dealerships also enter the fray. Many had exclusive contracts with Case IH, funneling warranties and parts directly to local customers. Now, they find themselves scrambling for alternative suppliers or facing the threat of closure. For them, it's yet another betrayal. Months ago, Case IH's glossy brochures promised a prosperous future, while behind the scenes, shipping routes were being rerouted. Some store owners have joined the mounting legal battle, accusing Case IH of concealing the depth of these cutbacks and blindsiding loyal partners who invested heavily in training and equipment for Red Brand machines. Government players, from local mayors to federal representatives, haven't stayed silent. In the last few days, senators in affected states have demanded an investigation into potential labor violations. Rumors also indicate Case IH's legal team is on high alert, fully aware that revelations about premeditated shutdowns could open them to bad faith claims. Then there are economic analysts who argue these closures were inevitable, given the intense pressure to optimize internationally. One side sees an unforgivable betrayal. The other sees a symptom of modern manufacturing realities. Colliding perspectives leave an entire network of stakeholders locked in confrontation. Case IH's saga doesn't end at the US border. In Brazil, families rejoice over the influx of new factory jobs. Their local papers frame it as a major victory that positions the region as a rising powerhouse in agricultural machinery. Politicians tout their success in attracting a global brand once synonymous with Midwestern grit. For them, it's a story of economic salvation, tax breaks and incentives paying off in the form of modern plants and fresh opportunities. Meanwhile, new updates from Germany suggest that Case IH's expansion there is moving faster than anticipated. Local suppliers are gearing up to become integral parts of a reshaped global chain. Thousands of miles away, in India, the perspective is similar. A bustling factory floor emerges with the promise of growth and minimal regulation, while American towns scrape for survival. This shift underscores a painful irony. A company that once symbolized U.S. ingenuity and farmland resilience is now training overseas workers to assemble the same red machines. The corporate messaging emphasizes the phrase, global optimization, shining a spotlight on how capital flows more freely than community attachments. Legions of workers in Ohio and Wisconsin remain jobless, while new workers in Brazil proudly don the Case IH uniform. That contradiction feeds public outrage. How can a brand claim loyalty to rural America while simultaneously investing billions in foreign factories? Beyond job losses, the supply chain meltdown warns of deeper consequences. Modern farming can't afford endless shipping delays. One broken part arriving late can sabotage an entire harvest. Just this week, farmers in Iowa reported unstoppable mechanical breakdowns left them with fields half planted. Typically, they'd ring a local dealer, pick up the parts that afternoon, and power through. Now they must wait, day after costly day, for a box that might be stuck in overseas transit. If this pattern continues, rural communities may soon face an agricultural crisis dwarfing even the immediate job losses. Economists point to a larger trend. As multinationals chase cheaper labor, entire sections of the heartland risk hollowing out. With Case IH's expanded presence in India and Germany, the precedent is clear. Once an iconic brand breaks from its regional identity, other manufacturers might follow suit. And if entire supply chains become untethered from home soil, the next generation of farmers, mechanics, and dealership owners could find themselves locked out of the very industry they grew up idolizing. That's the line dividing optimism abroad and desperation back home. A week after the first factory padlock snapped shut, a flurry of lawsuits set the stage for a slow-burning legal showdown. Dealers accused Case IH of deliberately withholding vital information for months. With no time to pivot, many small businesses now teeter on the brink of bankruptcy. Farmers, too, have filed claims, arguing they were baited into long-term contracts by a company that planned to reduce U.S. service capacity all along. Case IH's corporate attorneys pushed back, contending that global restructuring is standard business practice, an argument that may hold water if they can prove no explicit contract guaranteed domestic operations. But the drama doesn't stop there. Rival brands sense an opening. John Deere's new trade-in bonuses tempt even the most loyal Case IH customers, while Kubota offers fast turnaround parts to any farmer willing to switch. This wave of incentives, rolled out mere days after Case IH's bombshell, further isolates the Red brand from buyers already nursing feelings of betrayal. Some industry watchers believe Case IH might return stateside eventually, once the dust settles. A handful of analysts point to cyclical market forces, suggesting that offshoring can be reversed if economic winds shift again. Doubt lingers in every coffee shop where once devoted employees now share stories of broken promises. Meanwhile, trade schools have quietly removed Case IH-specific training from their programs. In an echo of events nearly 20 years ago, another wave of machine operators might have to retrain under rival brands. As for the last glimmer of hope, new developments suggest a potential revamp. A few Case IH board members float the idea of partial domestic assembly lines returning for strategic reasons. Will it be too little, too late? Or could a symbolic gesture of goodwill and a swift legal settlement ease the bitterness in places like Rhine, Wisconsin? For now, the rusting frame of a stranded red tractor has become the emblem of countless small towns watching their futures slip away. The standoff between Case IH and the communities it once claimed to champion remains raw and unresolved. A new court filing out of Iowa suggests top executives could be compelled to release internal documents detailing their timeline for each factory closure. If confirmed, that evidence might rewrite the entire narrative, possibly fueling more outrage or opening the door for long-neglected restitution. So where do things go from here? Does Case IH attempt to rebuild trust by reinvesting in critical U.S. operations? Or does it push further into global markets at the expense of small-town America? The stakes are only growing, and the next move could determine whether rural economies get a lifeline or slip further into decline. In the end, the question remains, does devotion to American farmland matter when corporate strategies speak a language of profit margins and shift operations halfway around the world? Only time, and perhaps a few courageous voices in the heartland, will provide the answer.